My best friend framed me for a crime, and now I have to prove my innocence. Nicole has been my best friend for as long as I can remember. We stayed best friends throughout high school, all the way through college, and every breakup and personal catastrophe in between. Together, we moved to the city to follow our dreams and rented a small apartment that we turned into our little paradise. Out of all of my friends, I trusted her the most. We took care of each other like sisters and supported one another through life's toughest challenges. So, when Nicole came to me after having a disastrous breakup, I was ready to help her heal. While you will lose out on this story if you do not subscribe to our channel, we hope you never miss out on our newly uploaded videos, which are only interesting stories like what you just have read. If you're subscribed, however, feel free to listen to them at your pleasure. Initially, it felt just like it used to be. Nicole moved into my spare room, and just like that we got back into our routine. We used to talk late into the night about our hopes and dampening experiences and shared clothes and secrets, all with so much joy. I was pleased to have her around, and I believed she found the arrangement equally pleasant. Little by little, things started to shift though. As the days progressed, Nicole started going missing for long hours only for her to reappear without offering any context to her behavior. To add on to that, she took my money time and time again without me caring much and shot me the same old line about getting back on her feet. It started to feel disconcerting. Everything felt fine until one day when I returned home and saw my apartment in a complete mess, which triggered panic. The front door was unlocked and the lock was broken. There were drawers in the house that were opened and their contents spread across the house like confetti. Not only was my laptop missing, but several of my jewelry pieces, which were of high sentiment value, were also gone. I decided to call the police and my hands were trembling while I told them what happened. Soon after, Nicole returned home and looked confused. "What happened?" she said, sounding a bit worried than expected. "I don't know what happened," I said, now sounding even more shaky. "I came back, and this is what I saw. In short, my laptop and several other belongings are missing." After a while, the police arrived and started taking our statements. Unlike me, Nicole was calm, and the officers seemed to make her their priority, leaving me in my state of panic. As they inspected the apartment, one of the officers started taking fingerprints and had the audacity to ask me if I had any enemies. I shook my head. I was a reserved person, and the only people who knew me are my friendly neighbors. The police officer started to leave without any additional comments and said he will try his best to find the missing belongings. I just nodded because everything felt wrong and it is hard to find the right words to portray my feelings. Following that incident, the vibe around the apartment shifted. Nicole was always encouraging, helping me tidy up and providing words of solace. But there was something about her look that blindsided me, an episode that seemed to carry I's guilt. That settled deep inside me, but I told myself she was my best friend. She wouldn't hurt me. /in/in, then everything shifted for the worse. The police were knocking again at my door a week later. They had a warrant this time. These officers started rummaging through my apartment yet again. Everything was taken out and arranged in a horrendous order. I sat there in disbelief as they began to pull out a multitude of things from my closet, things lacking any semblance of familiarity to me. Transformative jewelry, electronic devices, and cash tucked between envelopes. The officers were sizing me up, and I could tell their expressions were dark. "Those items match the descriptions of property stolen from a number of break-ins within this region," one of them said. "You are under arrest for possession of stolen property and suspicious of breaking and entering." My entire world crumbled. "No, this is all wrong," I stuttered. "I have never seen those things before. I am the person who was robbed here." Instead, they ignored my pleas. They cuffed me and transported me to the police station, where I was booked and put into a holding cell. Everything felt off. How did those things get to my apartment? Who was trying to set me up? Charges were brought against me for burglary and for possessing stolen property. The proof against me was shocking. The police had discovered stolen items at my house and had footage from some of the burglaries that showed a woman with my body type and features breaking into houses. It was a living nightmare. The media caught wind of the story, and in only a few days, my life became a laughingstock. My company put me on leave until the investigation was done, and friends and people I knew started to fade away. However, the most painful thing was Nicole's answer. She arrived at the police station in tears, looking completely broken. "I can't believe this is happening," she cried. "You have to believe me. I didn't know. I didn't know this was something you could do." She was breaking words aimed at me like a knife while I had no strength at all. Nicole is the single person who can ever be considered as the sole trespasser to my residence and the only person who could actually put the valuables in question. However, rather than helping me out, she seemed to be treating me as the accused. It dawned upon me then. Nicole was the person who set me up. Those were all the thoughts that led up to the staggering conclusion. The person who I had trusted the most in my life, my closest friend, actually framed me. But why? What could make her so heartless to do something like that to me? I had no clue what had happened. What I did know is that I needed to clear my name. I had to fight for my side and prove that my intentions were not to harm, but rather Nicole was the enemy. After spending a ruthless night in jail, cashing the bail made my release quite easy. When all was said and done, I felt like an utter failure. The job that I held with such pride and my reputation all vanished. Most disturbingly, my family, the ones that should have supported me in this time of trouble, seemed confused and concerned at the same time. I had to leave the apartment that served as sanctuary for me. I was furious and overwhelmed, so I took comfort in my sister's couch. Knowing that I needed help, the first thing that came to my mind was to hire a private investigator. This woman, Rachel, had abundant experience in undercover snooping, so she seemed like the perfect fit. After meeting, I made sure to tell Rachel everything I knew regarding the break-in and the stolen items. Additionally, I made sure to include how Nicole's demeanor had become so unusually unusual ever since she moved in. With utter focus, Rachel made sure to listen to all the details I provided, and to my surprise, she agreed to take the case. While Rachel was gathering information, I started my own investigation into Nicole's life. My plan was to retrace the events leading up to the break-in, as there might be something that connected her to the crimes. I went through my emails, text messages, and social media to see if there was anything that could expose her motives. What I uncovered was gut-wrenching. There were countless messages Nicole sent to different people that I had never encountered before. It appeared she sent them while I dozed off or was absent from my phone. In one of the messages, she spoke to someone she called Mark and unveiled plans for the next job which would take place in the future, in which they discussed how they would split the haul. How they worded the conversation was extremely vague, but it was clear Nicole had some form of communication with someone regarding the break-ins, framing me as the one who was involved. So, I went on to speak with Rachel next, who tried to find out more about Nicole's connections. She found out that a few financial issues like debts were well associated with her name for several years. Appears a few petty crimes were linked to her name, and Nicole was using multiple names, changing addresses, and sometimes even aliases for addresses. It is now clear that Nicole was living a double life which I had absolutely no clue about. However, this information alone still could not win us the court case without solid backing evidence. Rachel recommended monitoring Nicole to catch her in the act. It was a sketchy decision, but I wanted the truth. So I took the leap with Rachel. I wanted to show her what the world wanted to see. In my apartment, which I temporarily moved back into to sort out my affairs, we placed hidden cameras. I proceeded to set Nicole in the loop, pretending to be her friend who was lost and shocked, which was extremely difficult, but was essential for her to give in. The waiting game commenced for Rachel and I. We began watching the footage for any chance that Nicole might make a mistake. I waited a whole week and saw nothing. I started doubting the plan. Did Nicole possess too much intelligence and could not be caught? Then one night, I saw on the camera that Nicole used a key she was not meant to have and entered my house. She went directly to my closet and started going through my personal items. Nicole pulled a small box from the back of the closet and, to my astonishment, did not bother closing the door. Rachel and I monitored/downloaded the footage from a nearby surveillance van. We saw as she opened the box to reveal more stolen property, items that were listed missing during the recent burglary. Nicole swiftly stuffed the rest of the items into her bag. We instantly contacted the police. Okay, maybe it was not that simple, but this time they came with a warrant, so it was much easier. They caught Nicole at the scene of the crime. She attempted to lie and claim she was assisting me in moving, but the truth was she was aiding a delusional psychopath. The evidence was too much. They arrested her then and there. I was able to sigh a bit of relief. The person who blamed me was now caught, and the truth was beginning to be uncovered. Nicole's arrest resulted in a media stir. Framing her best friend to hide her crimes certainly did raise eyebrows, but the details of her betrayal are far worse. She pulled off a string of burglaries while hiding out in my apartment at the same time. Her strategy was to place the blame on me, and once the heat was off, make a clean getaway with everything that she stole. In her interrogation, Nicole cleared her throat and spilled everything. From hiding out in my apartment to letting me take the fall for her crimes, it's really quite foul. She carefully set her trap with the knowledge that I would trust her beyond reason. I felt everything all at once, including relief. But my main feeling during this entire epiphany is a fantastic burden of betrayal. Nicole was my closest friend and someone who I thought had my back. Being backstabbed by my closest friend has given me deep emotional scars, which are sure going to take time to mend. Once Nicole confessed along with the evidence Rachel and I had collected, I was free from any accusations. My record has been cleared. But to piece my life back together was a different obstacle. My reputation was in tatters, I was unemployed, and regaining trust from my friends and coworkers was nearly impossible. Everyone was remorseful, but having the label criminal suspect cast a dark shadow over how I interacted with people. Nicole was convicted of her offenses and is now doing time. I remember her being so apathetic during her trial. I had believed that the Nicole I had known for all those years was a deep-rooted lie, but rather that was the surface of someone so narcissistic and manipulative. I didn't feel triumphant while seeing her in the handcuffs. Instead, it was pure sorrow towards the friendship that was obliterated. Now that the worst is over, I shifted my focus towards rebuilding my life. It was tough. I had to sort out a new family, a new job, a new place to live, and figure out a way to trust people again. Despite the betrayal, my family and a few close friends were always there to support and love me. Nicole's betrayal was a place where I felt supported, but it was still a detriment. I did develop therapy for a while to try and cope with the trauma and do a deep dive on how I failed to see the signs. It was a long journey, but each day gave me tapes upon tapes of normality. Rachel, the private investigator, who was in charge of the case, soon became a close friend. She had followed the case, and being with me during my fight for justice helped her further understand how important the situation was to people like me. Encouraged by her, I began to write about everything I went through and how I managed to come out on the other side with a lot more strength than I started with. Writing has helped me gain clarity, and in the process, I was able to understand that I am more than the person Nicole tried to frame me as. Ultimately, I learned that trust can be a double-edged sword. It can lead to the bringing together of people, but when misused, it can result in the most painful betrayal one can think of. Nicole exploited my kindness, loyalty, and trust. But she didn't break me. I stood back up, fought, and uncovered the truth. I wasn't just a statistic. I was a fighter. Life continued. I got a new job, made new friends, and gradually started trusting people again. My scars served as a reminder of how strong I am and the importance of protecting oneself. The darkness that filled my life after Nicole's betrayal was difficult to bear, but ultimately, I came out stronger on the other side.